The story of Snow White and Rose Red. There once was a widow who lived in a lonely cottage deep in the forest. In front of the cottage grew two beautiful rose bushes, one which had white roses and one which had red ones. Now the widow had two beautiful daughters who reminded her so much of the rose bushes that...
I'm called Snow White.
And I'm called Rose Red.
The two girls were quite different in their ways. Rose Red, with her dark hair and rosy cheeks, was full of fun and loved to run about the forest. Snow White, who had fair skin and blonde hair, was much more the stay-at-home type, who was happiest when helping her mother around the house. But different as they were, they could not have loved each other more.
We will never leave one another, Rose Red.
No, never, dear sister. Remember, children, whatever one has must always be shared with the other.
And so they grew up as close as could be. Because of their kind nature, all the animals of the protectors.
Here comes Snow White and Rose Red.
Welcome to our forest, and enjoy the day.
And they did enjoy, picking berries, gathering flowers. Sometimes they would even forget the time and find that night had fallen and they were still in the woods.
But I don't worry about my daughters. I know that the animals will guard and protect them.
Sleep safely, dear children, for we will see that nothing can harm you.
And so the summer passed, and soon winter set in. Oh, how long and cold were the winter nights.
Read us a story, Mother, please.
Oh, yes, do read from your big old book.
One night, as Mother read one of their favorite tales of wonder and mystery, the little family was startled by a sound.
Quick, Rose Red, open the door. That must be a poor wanderer lost in the snow and looking for shelter.
Rose Red drew the bolt and opened the door. At first, she thought it was an old man who was covered with snow from head to foot. But soon she realized she was mistaken.
It's a bear!
One look at the large black bear, and the girls went scurrying to hide behind their mother's skirts. But the bear spoke quickly.
Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I'm half frozen from the cold and would like to come in for a while to warm up by your fire.
You poor bear. Of course you may come in. Lie down as close to the fire as you wish. But be careful not to scorch your furry coat.
When Snow White and Rose Red saw that their mother was not afraid and heard the bear speak, they slowly came forward.
Oh, my pretties, do you think you could sweep the snow from my fur?
Come, Snow White, let's get our brooms and help the poor bear.
The girls did a very good job, and soon the bear's fur was clean and dry.
Thank you, children. I'm so comfortable that I feel like I could fall asleep.
You can stay right there on the hearth, Mr. Bear, and you will be warm and dry all through the night.
Oh, good.
He's fast asleep, Mother. What a nice bear he is.
I'm not afraid of him anymore.
Next morning, when Snow White awoke to light the fire, the bear greeted her.
Good morning, Snow White. Would you kindly open the door so I may go back into the forest?
Will we see you again tonight, Mr. Bear?
I'll be back.
And so it was that every evening that winter, the bear came to the little cottage. Snow White and Rose Red grew to treat him like a great big dog. They played with him for hours until the poor bear pleaded to be left alone.
Spare my life, Snow White, Rose Red. One who's dead can never wed.
The sisters did not exactly understand what he meant by this. But when he said it, they knew that he had had enough play and wanted to sleep. So they kissed him good night.
Good night, dear bear.
Sweet dreams, sweet dreams.
Soon winter passed, and springtime arrived. One morning as the bear was leaving the house, he spoke.
Dear Snow White and Rose Red, I must leave you all, and I won't be back until next winter.
But why, dear bear?
And where would you go?
I must go into the woods and hide my treasure from the wicked dwarfs who wish to steal it. Once they get hold of any treasure, they drag it down into their caves, and no one can ever get it back again.
There was nothing to do but unbolt the door and let their friend out into the forest. But as he left, his heavy coat seemed to get caught on the bolt, and a piece of the fur was torn off. But the bear kept going, and soon disappeared behind the trees.
I thought I saw gold gleaming under the bear's coat.
Oh, sister, it was probably just the tears in your eyes.
The sisters missed the bear, but they were kept busy doing chores for the house.
Children, please go into the forest and bring back some wood for the fire today.
And off they went. Soon they found a big tree that had fallen across the forest path. As they got closer, they saw something jumping backwards and forwards in the grass, but couldn't make out what it was. They walked closer and closer until...
Why, it's a tiny old dwarf.
And his beard is about a yard long.
Poor little fellow. He seems to have gotten it caught under a branch of the tree.
All that jumping around doesn't seem to help.
Huh? What are you two dumbbells staring at? Haven't you ever seen a beautiful white beard before? Such silly gooses. Can't you see I'm stuck?
We see a problem, little man.
If you'll just stand still for a moment, perhaps...
Perhaps. Is that all you stupid females can say? Can't you get me out of this fix? I was just trying to get some small wooden chips from my fire, and the next thing I know, caught like a rat in a trap.
Let us see if we can get you uncaught, little man. It seems as if you're really caught fast.
I'll run and get help.
No. That's all I need. More stupid human beings. You two are two more than I need already. Can't you think of something?
I have my sewing scissors with me. I'll just snip a tiny bit. There. You're free.
Oh, free you call it? But without a piece of my fine beard. Well, what can one expect from such creatures?
And without so much as a thank you, the little dwarf picked up a bag of gold that had been sitting alongside the tree and went off in a big hurry. Some weeks after that, Snow White and Rose Red had another errand to do.
My dear daughters, perhaps you can go and catch some fish for tonight's dinner.
And off they went. As they approached the brook, they saw something that looked like a large grasshopper jumping toward the water.
Rose Red, it's the little dwarf again.
And it looks like he's trying to get into the water.
I do not want to get into the water, you silly blockheads. I'm trying to stay out of the water, but this accursed fish wants to pull me in.
As the girls came close, they saw the problem. The dwarf's beard had become tangled in his fishing line, and since the fish had swallowed the bait, it was about to pull rod and reel and dwarf all together into the brook.
It looks like we got here just in time.
But try as they could not remove the beard from the tangled mess of fishing line.
It looks like we'll have to snip a bit if we're going to rescue you from drowning, little man.
So, once again, Snow White took out her sewing scissors and very carefully snipped the very smallest bit of beard away in order to free the dwarf. But was he grateful? Oh, no.
You clumsy, spiteful things! Look what you've done! It's not enough that you cut off the lower half of my beard the last time we met. Now you've gone and destroyed most of the upper half. Oh, my beautiful beard. I just figured I'll never be able to show my face again. Such fools, such clods, such meddlers.
After letting loose with this and some even harsher insults, the dwarf picked up a sack of pearls, flung it over his shoulder, and disappeared into a hollow beneath a nearby rock. The girls by now were used to his thanklessness and went about their business catching a fish for their own dinner. It happened soon afterwards that Snow White and Rose Red were sent on another errand.
My dear ones, please go to town and buy some needles, pins, and thread for this dress that I'm sewing.
The path that the sisters took to town led them through a large open meadow with many big rocks in it. They couldn't help noticing a huge eagle who seemed to be circling above. Gradually, the big bird came lower and lower. At last he landed on a rock not far from where they were standing and pounced on something.
Look, Rose Red, It's the dwarf again.
The eagle has him in his claws. We've got to save him.
So both girls grabbed what they could of the little creature's clothes and held on for dear life. When the eagle saw that he was not getting anywhere, he finally let go, and the terrified dwarf dropped onto the rock. As soon as he recovered from his fright, he wasted no time in shrieking at the girls.
You clumsy lumps! Couldn't you have been more careful? Look at my elegant coat and my trousers, all torn because of you stupid creatures.
When he had quite gotten all these insults off his chest, the angry dwarf disappeared again under a rock.
We'd better be getting on to town or we'll never get what Mother needs.
We really should be used to his dreadful behavior by now.
And so the sisters went directly to town, did their shopping, and were returning through the rocky meadow when they came upon the dwarf again. Thinking he was quite alone, the mean little man had emptied his sack of jewels on a flat rock and was busy admiring them.
Oh, my precious little jewels. How you glitter in the rays of the setting sun. Oh, you two again. Why must you two apes stand there staring? Have you no sense at all?
And just as the dwarf was about to launch into one of his more insulting remarks, a sound came from behind him that caused his bright little face to grow pale.
Dear Mr. Bear, spare me. I will give you all these beautiful jewels. Oh, see how they shine. But please, spare my life. What would you want with such a tiny fellow as I? Hardly a mouthful for a big bear. But look at these plump young creatures. Tender morsels that you would enjoy. Take them for mercy's sake.
The bear paid no attention to these words, but advanced toward the dwarf. With a single blow from his huge paw, the dwarf moved no more.
Snow White, Rose Red, don't be frightened. It's me, your old friend.
And as he spoke, his bearskin fell off, revealing a handsome young man all dressed in gold.
I know I have some explaining to do. You see, I'm a king's son, and I was bewitched by that wicked dwarf who had stolen all our family treasure. I was condemned to run around the forest like a wild beast until I was freed by his death. And so you see, he really got what he deserved. And you both were so kind to me. I'd like to marry both of you. But it is Snow White whom I will ask to be my wife. Rose Red will wed my brother.
And so it happened. Two lovely young girls became two lovely brides. Of course they took their mother to live with them at the palace. And of course their mother took the two beautiful rose bushes which stood outside her window. And each year they bore the most beautiful white and red roses, which, if you remember, is how our story began.